Welcome to the PrimeSpan Podcast, where we talk about aging, mental health, and living well in the years that matters the most. Each week, we cut through the noise to focus on what actually helps you feel clearer, steadier, and more in control as you age. If you're navigating the second half of life or thinking ahead, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
Aging today feels different. It is not just about getting older anymore. It's the cost of groceries, the cost of healthcare, the fear of falling, the pressure of adult children, the loneliness people do not always admit, the confusing health advice online, the apps, the portals, the passwords, and the system that makes life feel harder than it should. And I think the real question is this: are older adults struggling because they are aging or because the world around aging has become harder to navigate? Welcome to PrimeSpan Podcasts. I'm here today, joined by my co-hosts, Kassandra and Ray. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to the show. Kassandra, we missed you for the past couple of episodes. Ray and I were flying with some of our guest speaker. It's great to have you both together again.
I missed you guys too. Ray, thank you for stepping up and taking the lead.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Ray has done a great job, by the way, in your absence. She's taking it like a pro. So here's a question. This is going to be an interesting topic. We're going to talk about aging. Is it really that harder than people think right now? Because there's a lot of things that I'd like us to cover in this episode. And what I'm going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about certain aspect of it, and we're going to talk about your opinions and what's been your observation. And so when people talk about aging, they usually talk about health, exercise, food, medication, doctor visits, and a lot of these things. But a lot of older adults are carrying things we do not always see, as we all know. They carry about stress about money, especially right now. It's down economy. I'm sure it's not just the older adults. It's most people are. Loneliness is a huge piece. That's been a huge study that's been out there for the longest time. But we know that there's a lot more people that are just getting lonelier in this world, especially in today's digital world. There's also one of the biggest fears, losing independence. And then, of course, the health information overload, which is because of this technology advancement that we're in right now. So my first question to both of you, and we'll probably navigate around this. When you think about older adults today, what do you think people underestimate the most about them?
I think people underestimate their independence in a way, and thinking that maybe they're not able to do a lot of things, or maybe they're not able to take care of themselves fully. If you're having a conversation with an older adult, someone in their 70s, 80s, you automatically think, oh, here, let me go and carry your groceries for you, or let me just, talk about the weather with this person. So I think maybe just what they're capable of, they underestimate that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I see that a lot too. I think it's always been instinctive for us to assume that when you're older, you're frail, you need help. But the older adults today, they're actually quite adventurous. They're quite vigorous still. I see that a lot too. I see that in the gym a lot more lately, and everything. Ray, what's your thought on that?
Thank you for putting that color on it, Cassandra. I think I agree. I think that older adults have along the same line, they have a certain resilience that with their life experience, they can, they almost have a superhero cape, if you will, that they can do a lot of things. And I think that's what people underestimate, that they're still very capable, and we just have to allow them to be.
I have a follow-up question. On the older adult side. What do you think are what do older adults hide because they do not want to worry their family with? What do you think are those things that we've seen? I mean, we see them at PrimeSpan, but I'm curious for our listeners. I'm sure they'll relate to this if we mention it. What are the things that the older adults typically hide because they do not want to worry their families?
I think they hide if they human nature, if they forget something. I'm not necessarily talking about Alzheimer's or dementia or saying that that's what they have, but I think that might be something that they try to mask, even though we know just with like normal aging processes, slow down. And I think that that's very scary. So I think that's like a number one thing that comes to mind, that older adults hide. I think also maybe just my funny story. My aunt used to buy the little cans of Coke, like the mini cans. And after he had passed away, my aunt and I were cleaning his room, and we found like 6 of those cans behind his bed because he wasn't supposed to be drinking them. So even that's a little bit of like a funny story, but I think just some of those things that they enjoy that they know is bad, maybe not the best thing for their health. I think that they'll hide that. That's just something not as detrimental, as like forgetting things. But yeah, I think that that's just something also.
Right. What do you think?
They might hide some of their health issues. Possibly. They don't want to share that they have those things, so they don't want to seek treatment for maybe fear of what could be.
I can see that a lot more. There's people that sometimes wait until it's worst, and we know people like that. Do you also think that sometimes, as younger generation, we give advice to older adults without understanding what their daily life actually feels like? And I'm talking about we, meaning the broader we as a younger generation. Do you think that's something that is out there, that older adults are dealing with?
I think so. I think that's especially true of like adult children trying to parent their parents. Like I've seen that just in my family and relatives, and the person who's giving advice isn't necessarily seeing them consistently or frequently.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to just remind that person, hey, you're not there every single day. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can't just assume that this is why that's happening or why, so I think that is very true.
Mm-hmm.
With our own family members.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I relate with you. I often talk about my mom in this podcast, but she will tell me something about, well, actually not thinking about it. She stopped telling me about her health issue. She probably listened to the podcast a lot, but when she tells me a health issue, I tend to, and this is probably before PrimeSpan, I was doing it more. Now I'm more conscious about it, but I tend to almost like overanalyze and try to fix it, and try to almost give her a lecture about things. And to your point, I'm far away from them. I'm very far away from family, and I don't oversee what they do every day. And it even ends up upsetting her, and then it creates a snowball effect in the family. when I'm providing advice that I thought it would be helpful, and she feels that I'm overstepping boundaries because it matters. Just we're just talking, and I'm trying to give her advice already. Um, and then that's I can see what you're saying there. Ray, what are your thoughts?
I relate to what you both just said. I can think of my own family examples. I was thinking, as you said, back to it, I was reflecting on when I was younger and when my parents or loved ones would tell me things and give me advice, saying, you should do this or you should do that, you know? And did I listen? No. But now, as we're getting older, and I can see why they would say those things. But thinking about, you know, thinking of the skills and experience we have now and being able to share those with family members, you know, hopefully they would listen to our advice, knowing that we know something. I think it just depends how it's translated to them. Because I know in my own experience, there's ways that things were said to family members that maybe didn't land the right way. And that's why they were not receptive to it.
Ray, I have to joke with you here because I think you're an old soul. You're like Kassandra and I are like 10 years older than you. And I think you're very much of an old soul. And when you're talking about as you're aging, you know, or like we're so ahead of your age, and you do have a lot of wisdom, you know. This is really you have such advanced thinking about, and not all people like your age think the way you do. And it is to me it's very, very fascinating. I want to talk about I want to move us on to one section here. The cost of aging. This is a hot topic. When we designed PrimeSpan, we talked about designing it for this generation of people that are retirees, the 55 and up, the boomers, and everything. Let's talk about money, because we cannot talk honestly about aging today without talking about costs. And healthcare cost is more than ever, as we know. 5 years ago, it was much cheaper. Today, it's a lot more expensive. Food costs was, I think, one of our episode PrimeSpan is 21%. I think Kassandra, you're the one who mentioned that one time. 21% rise on the grocery cost, food cost, housing costs more. Living in California, there's no such thing as getting back to where it was before. It's just going up and up. And then when you're getting older, caregiving support costs a lot more nowadays. And many older adults are wondering how long their money will last. And that's really one of the issue. How do you think is the financial pressure changing the way someone ages?
I think it's actually motivating people to start focusing, like really taking their health more seriously, even at a younger age. Because it is very expensive. I didn't realize how much health insurance is, and I'm like, just for the basic tier, I wanted to cry.
Oh, you changed your career and you realize how different life insurance is, or health insurance is?
I wanted to it's sickening how expensive it is. And that's like, I'm saying this is for the bottom tier level, and I'm like, wait, what? I'm gonna have to talk to my new employer about getting life insurance, or adding, or not life insurance, maybe adding health insurance into the business, because this is just ludicrous. But yeah, I definitely think it's motivating for just all of it: health, food, where you live, gas. Like, I never used to be I've never really complained about gas prices, because it is what it is. You need to get around, I'm not going to let that hinder me from going, places. But I just can't believe seeing the prices and like how much it's like almost double to fill my tank than what it used to be. And it's just, it's scary. And then just I when I've gone to like when in the past when I've gone to pick up like my prescriptions, like at a CVS, like hearing some of the seniors who maybe have been in the CVS and complaining about the cost of their medication, and it's some of their medications not being covered, then hearing how much their medications are, and it's stuff that they need. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. They have to have it. Like I just don't. It's not. It's a failing system. I feel like.
I do have a comment to you here. I'm sure you're feeling the price on the insurance thing, but I'm sure your heart is also healthy.
It is, but it is, but it's also just part of me was like going back and forth. I'm like, do I really need to do this? Can I just like skate by? Because and I was looking at the penalties. I'm like, I'll just pay the penalty. That's cheaper than paying a monthly premium for, but it's also just, unfortunately, it's also just like a peace of mind. And I'm like, I have to look at it like it's worth a peace of mind. Yeah. If something were to happen, right? Like,
yeah,
hopefully it doesn't, but it's just like, yeah.
But you see, that's exactly what, we're feeling it. If you're a retiree who doesn't have stable income, stocks is not reliable right now.
No,
it's completely not in a lot of the investment. And this is exactly why I want to bring up this one of the topics. Cost of aging is expensive. And my follow-up question here is, what do you think happens when someone, I like your point about people are more conscious about being healthy and being intentional about their lifestyle, especially when they have the ability to do it still. But how does money stress affect sleep, eating, mood, and motivation?
I have thoughts of the opposite. Actually, I think that the financial pressure discouraged people from seeking medical treatment. And I agree that there are some retirees that, they're not able to retire at 65, or, they do retire for a bit of time and find themselves going back to work for a part-time job or something. Some people go back to work just to have some purpose. But I think that there are some retirees that need to work for a longer period of time because they need to be more, because, they know that people are living longer and they need to have a little more money in their pocket.
Yeah, I've come across quite a few people who have taken on part-time jobs just to help supplement like their Social Security or whatever they're getting. So they have to stay with under a certain amount of hours to be able to do that. So you're absolutely right about that, Ray.
Ray has a good point on that. I as you're both providing a contrast on this, it reminds me of what my conversation about this with my parents. My parents are the perfect age for the 55 and up. They're both above 55. They're both 60. And my mom still works, and I always tell her about I worry about the retirement aspect of it. She probably kills me if I misquote her age, but I worry about that part. And my dad, on the other side, has decided to de-stress things. Live a much more simpler life, and to limit stress. All of it is thinking of cost of being old. He had a stroke about 5 years ago, and that's the other thing that's changed his thoughts about aging. And this is really a scary factor. But here's one thought I have here. Have you seen an older adult make a health choice decision based on money rather than what they actually needed? Have you seen or heard those type of things lately? as example, have you seen an older adult make a health decision based on money rather than what they actually needed? Is that something that that you encountered, that you typically see?
I don't know that I've seen that, but what I have seen is like people in my family or friends of family of my friends where they maybe go to a different country to get their medical taken care of, and being older adults, or like my grandfather had dual citizenship between here and Mexico, and he would cross the border to go get his medications from Mexico. So I have seen that
Mm-hmm.
happen. And then just thought like the opposite of like what Ray mentioned, just avoiding going because they don't want to spend the money.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes this doesn't end up very well, unfortunately.
Since you brought that up, I follow this account where they explore. There's a couple that explores. I mean, I think we all know here that the price of healthcare in America is way expensive compared to a different country. If you go to a different country, you'll be treated with the same treatment and is cost way less. I mean, even our border neighbors, Canada is going to be cheaper. Mexico is way cheaper. And this couple, what they do is they explore different countries where they can get the same treatment, and to show you what cost it would cost you. And they tell you like from the dental works and medical works, and they tell you exactly like how to do it and total breakdown of the cost. It takes a lot of work, and to your point, sometimes it's scary at times, but there's an industry that supports that if you can do it. However, I don't think a lot of people has the courage to do it because of the negative spin that people brings towards that type of the type of choices that about going somewhere else to take your medical procedure, and it's been interesting to see. Even the cost of medications here in the US is very expensive.
But that's where I also think like going back to like where people are focusing in on their health more, or maybe looking at other modalities or other types of like medication, or health practices, vitamin supplements, things that are a little bit more affordable, or like really getting into like herbs and things like that, to see if that helps whatever they're trying to heal too.
The next item I want us to see here or talk a little bit about is the topic of loneliness. Not loneliness in a basic way, not the generic way, because loneliness right now is not always the type of someone that's just sitting alone in one room. That's not the loneliness that you typically see. Sometimes loneliness is when someone's world gets smaller little by little. Like when you get older, I don't know if you're feeling this, but I definitely thought I felt this when I went on my paternity leave. But I'm sure older adults are feeling this. Like when you get old, what typically happens, and I reflected on this, when you get older, there's fewer invitations that you'll receive to events. Sometimes you get fewer calls checking in on you. And then you get, as an older adult, you also drive less. Then the snowball effect on this, we've talked about this one time in the podcast, is your confidence goes down. And then the reason to get dressed goes away. The reason to cook. We talked about this part 2 in one of our topic. Then it goes down to the less reason to move. And my main question to start this section is, why does loneliness affect motivation so deeply? in your opinion, what you've seen? And probably attached to it, why is loneliness hard for older adults to admit if they're lonely?
I think if we're looking at the current generation of older adults, they don't, answering the question you just posed right now about like not wanting to admit, I think it's just a generation of, just of pride and not wanting to show any weakness and show any emotion, which is just naturally built into the generation. So I also think that the world that they're spending their golden years in is so different than, what it once was.
Mm.
And when you're looking at loneliness and motivation, I think also if you don't have that social community surrounding you, it's also I think it's a little hard to jump into a new friend group or make new friends, especially when I think the art of having a conversation has faded. And then it's also, if you don't know the people that you're trying to connect with, all it takes is you saying one wrong thing that they maybe don't agree with, and you're just, written off. So I think it's just harder, a little harder to connect with people face to face. And we're just such a generation right now of online and AI that it's taking away, I guess, again, just that art.
What do you think is the difference for both of you? What do you think is the difference between being alone and feeling forgotten?
Being alone, the way I look at it, it's like more of a choice. Like you're choosing to be alone, right? And being forgotten that's something that you're not choosing for yourself. And I think if you choose to be alone more times than not wanting to connect, then it is also kind of a choice, like you're not putting yourself out there, so you are forgotten.
Right. What do you think?
Kassandra's imparting wisdom now.
I know she's warmed up.
I think I agree with you about the loneliness part. There's a family friend I have in mind that this person has chosen to be more lonely and has kind of pushed people away just with how they are. So you said loneliness versus
being forgotten.
Being forgotten, sorry. I think with being forgotten, it's more, I think that people move on in their lives and they get so busy in life that they fail to check in on those people. And they just, people have too much on their plate and they're too much on the go or too much with work or school or whatever it is. And don't make time to check in on those people who need it. And they think, oh, no one's reaching out, but we need to. We should.
On the flip side, and because we all know that you can help someone when they're that loneliness factor, that community can play a huge role in when someone's feeling lonely or someone's feeling forgotten. Have you seen someone come back to life simply because they felt being included again, and how long it took that, or what are the things that it took that person, if you have any one that comes to mind?
I think I've witnessed this in community groups, and it does take a conscious, persistent effort to continue, to maintain it, and does require a positive support system, encouraging positivity. It requires that because you need people that were going to be motivating and engaging, and we just talked about making all those connections to be able to repeat those. I kind of talking about loneliness the one thing I can relate to is older adults attending, religious services, church services or something, because that's something that typically they like to do, and it's a social opportunity. And that is a consistent effort, and typically there's other opportunities to be involved in a religious organization. And there's a community there. People will worry about each other or talk about each other and something.
A lot of the time, that's really one of the key pieces here, being part of something, being part of a community. And sometimes, I was talking to someone, and a person reminded me about sometimes it only takes one person to motivate you, and it can make a big change to you. And that only one person, it takes one person to give you that motivation, and it can light you up. And if a person is lonely, sometimes it really takes that one person who pays attention to that one person and gives them that motivation and say, hey, let's go outside, or let's do something together. It doesn't take a full village to do it. It doesn't take a full church to do it. It doesn't, and it's fascinating when I was thinking about that after she said it to me, because we were also talking about discovering some motivating someone or creating positive change in life to someone, and because we were talking about environment, and even if you're living in a wrong environment, and it only takes one person to help you, and it can actually change your life trajectory, and it's the same thing with loneliness. It takes one person sometimes to lift you up from that loneliness, and it's so interesting to think about how much of that is needed, and how quick that can be refilled too by this. I mean, whenever we do podcasts, our connections gets is much more connected. But then it's the same. It's similar to that, It's and most of the older adults that are feeling lonely, a good amount of it is the feeling of forgotten. It's not even being forgotten. It's they felt that they're being forgotten, because sometimes life happens around them, and it's not that they're forgotten. They're just feeling that they're forgotten by people. Well, other things are happening around them too. There's so many things that aging is related here. There's technology issues that the older adults goes with, but there's also one of the main. I love talking about this because this is another reason why we built PrimeSpan, which is the health advice flood right now. Here's another issue that older adults face right now. There's too much health advice, and I'm sure you will relate with this. You go to the doctor says one thing. You go to YouTube, there's a video saying another. And then a supplement ad promised something else. And then your daughter, family member or daughter, sends you a TikTok video about another advice. And then the worst thing right now is AI is giving you an answer instantly, which is even more confusing. And now the older adults is left asking, who do I trust? So one of my question is, why is health advice so confusing right now, especially for adults 55? And how should they navigate around this puzzle? Because, it is overwhelming. And I mean, I talked to my wife about this, because now that we have a baby, I said, where did you listen to this? TikTok. And they're like, that's not where you should get this information. I'm like, we're a company whose wellness, you should listen to me. And she's like, I got it from TikTok. You shouldn't. I'm sure she's gonna be upset if she hears me talking about this advice. But anyway, so
that's really frustrating, because I actually was going through that yesterday. I was trying to research a supplement, and I'm like, are these people being paid? Is this an AI, information being shared? Like I was on YouTube and like, okay, this person's a nutritionist, but this person's a nutritionist too. And they're saying they like this product and this person's saying they don't like this product. And I'm like, I don't know what I need to do. But one of the nutritionists that I was just like, okay, it makes sense because of what she did. So I think what we need to do is exactly what we share at PrimeSpan, is like going to the science, going to the research. And I know it's going to take a little bit long. It's going to take longer than, Googling or asking TikTok or ChatGPT, right? But I think we have to look at, go back to like a research study to really understand, what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Like, what is your goal? I don't know. Like, I wish there was I don't have an easy answer. That would be and it's like, that's time consuming. Everyone lives such a fast life. Who has time to spend, doing that? But needless to say, I did not end up getting the supplement that I was looking into.
What supplement were you looking for?
I feel like my hair is shedding a lot more than it normally. So gosh, I overshared too much on this thing. But anyways, yeah. So I was just looking at a product, and I've used this company's products before for other things, but when I had like results with like other things, but then I'm like, wait, was I just imagining those results? Because of what this nutritionist was saying about the hair care product. But yeah, that's what I was looking into yesterday. So
Ray, I'm curious, what's your thought?
I'm just laughing watching you two.
You two or YouTube?
You two, the two of you. This is a tough question. Why is it confusing? And how to navigate all this healthcare advice?
There's also like people that Kassandra, you're talking about this. I'm gonna just, before you Ray answer, don't lose your thoughts. Having a child, is exactly what we went through. Everything is like, one person is saying do this, one person is saying get this, one person is saying bad product, another person is saying good product, it's like there's a lot of educational there who's fear-based selling, and then you don't know, are they paid or are they not paid? What's going on here? Confuse us even more. So I relate, and this is what, and again, we're parents. I mean, even buying stuff was something that we went through, and we're like, wow. Sorry, Ray, I didn't mean, I digressed it because I couldn't resist to say that with Cassandra's opinion.
No, I think that, I think if we did a section talking about babies, or, I have several friends now that are also had babies this year. And one of my friends shared that her first daughter is 4 this year, I think, or a little older than 4. And she said even 4 years ago, the information or the resources and things then are so different than now. Like, information moves so fast. Products, technology, all these things. There's different things available to them with their new baby compared to 4 years ago. So things change. I will have to take in Cassandra's wisdom about going back to the research. But again, who's going to spend the time? People want the quick information, and they're going to go with what's easiest at their fingertips. But I know that one thing people often share is, seek professional medical advice, and that is always a go-to. And I think also knowing what information is out there and knowing what's going to work for you. Sometimes things are a little bit trial and error if it's like medical things. But knowing what's going to work for you, get some advice from your doctor. But I think for us, for our team focusing on lifestyle, there is a lot of information out there, but there is consistent information about lifestyle factors and adjustments. The supplements are a whole different thing, I think. But I think with lifestyle factors and kind of what we're looking at, there's pretty consistent information based on research
I'll have a follow-up question to both of you. What is a one health trend or product you have seen that sounds convincing but may not actually solve the deeper issue that you bought into? Or maybe you didn't bought into. Maybe we were wiser because we work at PrimeSpan. But it sounds convincing, but may not actually solve the deeper issue that you've seen.
That's a tough question. I don't have an answer for that. Thinking about the resources and information we're sharing at PrimeSpan, I believe it. So it all works. I don't really have one. I started taking magnesium glycinate.
Wait, but I want to hear how long have you been taking it, and do you feel like it's working?
It's probably been about a month or so, and I also needed to take other supplements. I think most of the population is low on vitamin D, and I'm one of them. So I started taking vitamin D3 and the magnesium at the same time, and I think the vitamin D helps to give you energy in the day, and then I'm trying to be as consistent as possible with the magnesium. So I think I'm getting better sleep, and I'm using my ring to help me, match that data. So I feel that it's made a difference, and I can get a better solid night's sleep. And there's sometimes I miss it, and then I'm like, I didn't take my vitamins, so I wonder if that's why I didn't get a good night's sleep.
No, I have a suggestion for you. Try to take your vitamin D during the daytime. The glycinate is night, and then if magnesium citrate, you can take that during the day. It helps you, and then it also helps you go to the toilet as well.
But if you're already regular, do not take it. Like, you're fine. Like, do not take the citrate. Like, it's not like, if you're fine and you're not having any issues in that department, do not do that. I feel like as soon as I take the glycinate, like, I don't feel like it has to like work up in my system. Like, I just found I unpacked a lot of some stuff a couple of days ago that I was still had in boxes, and I found all my vitamins that I'd been wanting to. That was the whole reason why I unpacked them. But I started with my magnesium again 2 days ago, and I remember I have to cut back and just do one because it says to take two, and I take two, and like when I wake up in the morning, like, I know I slept hard and I feel a little groggy almost instantaneously. Yeah, I don't feel like I have to take it for like weeks to build up. Like, it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, so it just probably metabolizes very well in my body, I'm assuming. Because I was like, did not want to wake up this morning, and I'm a morning person. I don't know that a lot of the things that I've bought have been more like makeup, more like, face, hair stuff. It hasn't really been anything necessarily for like health. Like, yes, on occasion, like years ago, maybe like fat burner or things like that, but at the end of the day, like, you just need to just eat. Most people just need to eat well, exercise, get sleep, take care of, those basic, the pillars that we talk about in PrimeSpan when you're looking at that. But like, yeah, I think a lot of the stuff that I realized too, like, it's just expensive too. And it's just so much easier and cheaper to just take care of your 5 pillars.
I have to ask you both. I don't know if the collagen powder actually works. I question that. Kassandra, you take collagen powder, right? Does it work for you?
I noticed a difference like after like several weeks, because again, like, I'm not always consistent about it. But I do notice, and the person who does my hair, this was maybe like last year, she was like, man, you have a lot of new growth. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I've been taking my collagen, on a regular, like, I was really like stricter about it last year than I have been this year. For myself, yes. But I also know that if I do not drink water, because I'm go again in spurts with that too, I see a huge difference when I start like hydrating, just with like my skin, hair, and everything. But I do, for me, I think that the collagen does work, and I notice it too, like because I do get my manicures done on a regular basis, and when I am taking it, I notice the growth. Like, I'm like, okay, slow down, it's too expensive to go. Stop it.
Because that's the one thing I always question myself. I'm like, I take this on a regular basis, but I don't know if it's working. It's a
I mean,
trend.
your skin looks good and you have a full head of hair, so
If you Ray doesn't know me that long yet, but if you know me that long, you probably know how thick my hair is, and it's been there. It doesn't That's a gift. We're almost ending here, and I want to ask one more, and then we'll probably land the plane in this conversation, because this is, I think I wanted to mention this because as older adults, there's also the last issue is that I was thinking about it is, as older adults are aging, it's not just happening to one person. It's also happening to the whole family. Families are aging too. Adult children typically are working when for those older adults. They're raising kids, they're paying bills, they're managing their own stress, and now also worrying about mom and dad for the most part, and kind of like a line to feeling forgotten, like I mentioned earlier. And then sometimes older adults, their spouse becomes caregiver before they even call themselves a caregiver. Typically, that's what happens. There's one person who's declining. Why do you think older children sometimes sound controlling when they're actually feeling scared? Or maybe not feeling scared or caring. The tone is always the controlling aspect. And this is one of those, there's a lot of conversations and evidence about this, that older adults feels their older children sometimes sounds very controlling when they're actually feeling scared, or sometimes they care, but their tone is controlling. Why do you think that's been the case?
I think when it is fear. I think you said it. It's fear. It's the fear from the older adults, like the children. I think it's fear. And I think that those, maybe the better or the majority of those older adult children really do idolize and love their parents. We are not looking at them necessarily from the lens of this is, a senior, or this is, an adult, like this is my mom, this is my dad, this is who raised me, nothing can happen, to them, they're invincible. And I think that that's the fear. That's what's coming through. Like, you don't want to, they've been with you, since you were born. They're part of you. And not to have your mom or dad, and this can happen with anyone that you're close with, not to have them anymore to go to. I think that's just a scary thought, to think about living life and not having them here to experience life with you.
Mm-hmm. And so what happens is, the controlling is an expression that they don't realize they're expressing it that way. So as a follow-up, what kind of support would help both sides to communicate better? Because I'm hoping that to our listeners, this can be one of those guides of conversation and everything that we've been talking about. If an older adult's listening, I'm hoping that they're relating.
Mm-hmm.
But for a younger person listening, I'm hoping that this could be a reflection to them too. What kind of support would help both sides communicate better? And along that, what is the one conversation family should have earlier then?
I think for my own experience, I was almost, I don't want to say raised, or all we knew was sort of like a fear tactic, or telling people the consequences, but in a negative way. And I know what we're offering at PrimeSpan is a supportive way. It's kind of flipping the coin a little bit on the other side and see how can we motivate someone and not try to tear them down, because they need motivation to get going, and it takes those daily small steps, consistent steps and check-ins for someone to feel motivated and not brought down by, why didn't you do this? It has to be in an encouraging, positive way. And at PrimeSpan, I know that you guys are offering a program, the coaching program, to help someone take those steps. Because if we're not trained how to support someone long-term, it won't last. It has to be something that will last. And I know that we have coaches that will, then you guys can help people do that too.
Kassandra, I'm curious if you have a follow-up on that.
I agree with Ray. I think it's better to step outside of your typical circle of people, because they might be experience the same thing. And if you're experience the same thing, you're looking at it from the same lens, I don't think it's going to be helpful, because chances are that person's going through it for the first time as well. So stepping outside of your circle, getting help from PrimeSpan or, coaches that we have available. Or if you do, you do have someone that is going to give you their very unbiased, feedback and share with you, if they've gone through that, then I think that's also can be helpful too. But I do agree, it's better to seek outside of your typical circle. And I think also some people might just say, well, maybe you just have a conversation with your parent. And I think that if it was that easy, you would have already done it. And sometimes we just don't listen to the people closest to us just naturally.
As I'm reflecting on our conversation, and we're already top of the hour, when you're looking at all of this, as we're talking about what the older adults need as they're aging, it's really not just more advice. And it's not, older adults they don't need to be told all the time about exercise more, eat better, sleep more, be positive, stay social. And what has come out from our conversation, really, you come down to it, is that they need support that fits their current stage of life. That's what, and we know that. But as we're diving deeper into the problems of the older generation, the older adults that's going through this, it's really that support that fits their current real life situation is what's really important that they need to receive. And and both of you have mentioned this. Ray really hit this really well. This is what PrimeSpan is trying to build. Not fear-based aging, not another wellness trending. It's where people would feel supported, feel that they have the strategy to age better, with clarity and connection, and hopefully stay independent. Kassandra or Ray, one of you share what's going on at PrimeSpan, things that we would love to our listeners to hear about, things that I think it's good for them to know, things that would like them to follow. Any one of you want to take a stab on that?
I think Ray was practicing, and I heard her do it the other day, and I really liked it. So I think let's give Ray the opportunity to showcase this.
She's the youngest. Okay, Ray, tell us what's going on. It's good for our listeners.
Thank you. I'm learning a lot with my exposure to PrimeSpan. For our listeners, if you're interested to join us at PrimeSpan, you're curious, we do have several options for you to take a step into what PrimeSpan offers. We have different tools, like we said, there's so much fast information coming at us. And if you want a simple, easy way to get information about lifestyle habits and, just kind of the basics of the pillars we're focusing on, we have a special program designed for you to help guide you through this, to help you navigate. Really easy, not overwhelming at all. So we want to invite you into our community, and we have several options that at different price points that might be comfortable to start. And, we mentioned the coaching a little bit earlier, and that's one of our prime products that we have. And we have specialized trained coaches. You might have seen them on our social media accounts, and they're really interested to help support individuals on this journey. And we've had the opportunity to talk with them and learn from them too. And it would be an honor to, learn from them. I think I've learned a lot from them as well. So follow us on all of our social media platforms at primespan.life. We have Instagram, Facebook, TikTok as well. If you want some quick information there, we're on TikTok and YouTube. Listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple, and on YouTube as well. It's Substack. So there's lots of ways to stay connected with us that, just take a like and a follow. But we really want you to dive deeper with us and join us at PrimeSpan. So check out our links in the description.
Hopefully, to our listeners, this was a insightful podcast and something that people are able to take away a lot from. Cassandra, I'm curious if you have anything last piece you want to share before we end it on our episode, before we let our listeners go.
Yeah, I think that there was a lot of good topics of discussion on this episode. If you are finding yourself overwhelmed, or if anything resonates with you that you just listened to, do not be afraid to reach out to us at PrimeSpan. It doesn't cost anything to reach out and inquire. Yeah, we're here to help clear the noise, help you make sense of things, and you don't have to do it alone.
I have one last challenge for our listeners and for all of us. And as I was thinking about this example, I was thinking about this as a husband, but I was thinking about this because this can parallel if you have relationship as a guy. This is, I think, is a good challenge for all of us who's in the younger generation. This week, for those of you who are listening, ask one older adult that you have in life and ask them what feels harder for you right now than people realize. After you ask that question, do not rush to fix it. Just listen. Try to just listen to it. And then ask that person what kind of support would actually help you. Ask that person what feels harder for you right now than people realize. Don't try to fix it, and see what they would say. And then actually ask what it would look like for them to receive the right support. What kind of support would actually help you? That one conversation may tell you more than any article or health tip you could ever do, because that is the same practice that we were talking about earlier. That older adult needs the right advice in their current stage in life. So that's the challenge I hope that people take on to reflect and see if you have that in your life. You can do that to your mom or dad, your grandma or grandpa, and hopefully you take that away. Thank you for listening to everyone. Cassandra and Ray, thank you for being here today. Until next time, bye for now.
Thank you for spending time with us. If today's conversation gave you clarity or steadiness, take that with you. We release new episodes weekly. Follow the PrimeSpan Podcast on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss what's next. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep living well.